Hi all Kalahari lovers and subscribers to Joe's Camera. It is end of April now, and it is exactly 3 months after we last visited the Kalahari, when it was absolutely lush green. The grass was high and it was extremely green, and there was water all over, pools in the road. The animals did not drink at the waterholes because there were ample water in the riverbeds, even in the dunes and the pans there were enough rain. What's different now is, besides the green, it is now more a beigey sort of desert arid color and hue that is around because of all the grasses. The green is toned down into a light beige and even sometimes white grass. The difference is that we saw a bit less, but the animals and the whole ecosystem is now adapted to all of the food. So the insects, for instance, the wheat cricket or korenkrika, they in their millions in the grass. It's like a plague almost, and it's because of all the other insects. So the rain has stimulated the whole cycle of the ecosystem, and it is now in full swing. You don't have all of these birds at the waterholes because they're all over. They are not just attracted to the waterhole and the grasses around the waterholes, they're just all over. So the birds and everything, the rodents, has spread out into the dunes. They have a superb life, eating all the grass seeds for the seed eaters, the birds, and of course the rodents living on the seeds and the grasses. And that stimulated again, and what we found is the predators were hiding in the grass. So even under a camel thorn tree, where you would normally have seen the profile of the cheetah or the predator from quite a distance, you now don't see the predator. So we've seen where we drive past a specific spot for a day or 2 days, quite close to the road, and then all of a sudden one afternoon on the third day, you would see the two cheetahs stand up and you can't even see their heads. Because of that, also the cheetah do not prefer to lie down flat under the trees and scan around with their necks like they normally do, because they can't see. The grass is too high for the cheetah to actually scan around. And therefore we've seen the cheetah elevated into trees as lookouts and so on. So that's a bit of a behavior difference. And believe me, we didn't look up at the tree to see the cheetahs so high up in the trees. So there's a bit of a difference that one must adapt your eye to. The predators, like I say, go into the trees. They go into the high vantage points like the dunes to overlook and see the prey approaching. So very definitely all the animals have spread out across the Kalahari into the inner veld as well. Some of the places, the grass that are so high is actually putting off the predators, like the lion and the cheetah and the leopard. They tend to walk in the road, so we saw a lot of spoor and tracks of the predators, but not so much. As soon as they enter into the grassy areas, they just disappear. A cheetah that from time to time lie down when we followed it with camera just completely disappeared, and you can't even pick up where the spot is that it actually went down into the grass. That said, the high grasses are absolutely fantastic for hiding spots for all of the predators to actually hunt from. So if a lion is lying in the center of the riverbed or right next to the riverbed in high grasses, he doesn't have to seek out a trassie bush or a three thorn or whatever to hide under. Any spot where the lion or the cheetah would be a hiding place, and the antelope would walk right into them. So it increases the hiding place from where the lion and the predator would approach, but definitely not as prolific as during the wet season. Because in the wet season we had all the predators and all the antelope congregating at the southern point close to the Sameflowing, and now it's all spread out. The springbok is far and few in between. We probably saw 100 springbok all in the 4 days, and they move out. The springbok don't like tall grass, they like very short grass. So the springbok would go into the Botswana side, into the Pan area and so on. And I have got backup to that, but I know that's the behavior of the springbok, and that's why they're not that prolific in the high grasses. The grass is so high that a steenbok, a full-grown steenbok, would walk in the normal average length of grass, and only its horns would stick out. So even jackal is hiding in the grass, and a leopard, we followed leopard, where the leopard's back just disappears while he walks in the grass. So it's as if the predator just disappears in this long grass. So from a predator point of view, in the 4 days, we saw the 2 mata male lions. The one was mating with a female, and it apparently has got a cub. They were seen up there, and that's the only 2 lions up towards Mata. And towards Nosop, there's also 2 lions that were seen. So if you count the predators, it's the same ones we see over and over, and there's no new ones. There were a group of 7 lions seen at the bottom towards the southern end of the riverbeds. So the leopard is quite happy in this environment. As it catches anything, it's got a wide diet, the widest of all the animals in the park besides the hyena, the brown hyena. And so it'll eat anything from a whistling rat to a ground squirrel and even up. What gave us the photographic joy was to see the secretary bird that normally is a bit shy, and they would hunt, but it'll move away from the vehicle and move away from the car most of the times. They've picked up that the bushes along the sides of the roads host millions of small rodents, and if we drive with a vehicle right next to the side, he hunts and he walks right next to the vehicle, and as the vehicle chases the rodent off the bush away from the road, he grabs the rodent. So a very clever way of one of the secretary birds that we found that has found a way to actually hunt very effectively right next to a vehicle. We haven't seen that once, we've seen it a couple of times, and we've captured some. So the action of the secretary bird gave us a lot of joy from a photographic point of view, because it is something that for years I've been coming that I haven't really captured, and because of all the other action dying down or tapering down, that was quite good. And everyone knew about that and just concentrated on that. So if I stayed another 2 days, I would have picked that secretary bird and really stayed next to it, because it took snakes, poisonous snakes, and it made somersaults with the snakes in the air and all sorts of acrobatic moves that is absolutely fantastic. From a climatic point of view, it is now the period and the time in the Kalahari that it's very close to perfect. So we have minimums of around 9-10 and maximums around 30. Most of the day it's around 28 at the warmest, 29, and it varies, and sometimes it gets towards the 30. So the temperatures are beautiful for game drives, and one can stay out the whole day. You don't have to come back. If you really want to work hard from a photographic point of view, you can take your food up to a picnic site and you can shoot along the whole day. Be patient. Drive slowly, because the grass, everything hides and they just pop up out of the grass, so you can't really proactively see the animal and then approach it. It just pops up out of the grass, the action that one sees, whether that's a secretary bird, whether that's a caracal or a jackal. It hides itself until you get close to it. So one needs to drive slowly and just serendipitously wait for some action. So from a photographic point of view, I would say, like I always say, the macro lens is the least used lens in the Kalahari, and that's part of the animal kingdom that's not really exposed. And there's millions of insects, and there's thousands of species of insects that haven't been discovered in the Kalahari. And now is the time, it really is the time to walk around at night with a light and with a macro lens and the light, and try and get images of scorpions around the bungalow. And all the other, the wheat cricket and all the other insects are prolific now. So the small things and the things that eat the insects and the rodents, like the snakes, which is busy currently and hibernating or lying in the sun to heat up in the day, and they're eating, and they've grown tremendously. I would like to see the sizes of the snakes after this season, because the rodents are the most prolific that I've ever seen. Going for the smaller things, like the secretary bird, like the raptors that were fighting right above us and playing around right above us, is probably the best thing to concentrate on, and not just drive past those opportunities to try and find a mega predator. Because yes, of course, you could be lucky where a lion lies in the riverbed in the morning, because it's got extended hunting hours now because of the cool temperature. So that'll always be there, but that'll be a surprise experience. To work at it and to plan, I would say go for the smaller things, the raptors, like I say, the secretary bird that everyone just thinks just an animal because you see it continuously walking down the riverbed. I've seen its behavior quite different and very photogenic currently. Like I said, it's end of April and it's one of those transitional phases in the Kalahari from the wet green season into the cold drier season. It's also a sort of micro transition period that I say, even if it's because of just the color and the temperature that's starting to drop. It is now also a time where you have to bring a jacket with and an extra blanket, because it's the first time that I had to put a jacket on around 9 o'clock in the evening. Just a very nice, moderate, cool, very pleasant temperature. But I think 2 weeks from now, you're going to need the warm jackets and blankets for a minus minimum temperature. That's a quick summary of our quick visit to the Kalahari in this transitional period towards the end of April. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe and see you in the Kalahari.